Welcome back to another episode of Talk Dead to Me, the only Walking Dead podcast with the guts to start at season 10, but this time we're talking about season 3. I am your host, Johnny Odell, social media manager for The Walking Dead. With me, as always, Alexander August. She's our podcast producer, and we also got Woody Tondorf here. He is our Skybound games producer, and I am so happy to have you guys both here again. How you doing?
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. The local cops caught on pretty quick to the killing and cannibalism of my neighbors, but silver lining, I was able to turn it around on a neighbor, and no one is the wiser. So 2 birds.
That also means that they are listeners of the pod, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's welcome the Los Angeles Police Department to today's episode,
which is available everywhere major podcasts are given away for free.
Absolutely. All right, so in case you guys are new to the pod, we are doing Walking Dead Reanimated. Basically, during the hiatus, we are going to be discussing iconic episodes from the Walking Dead past, talking to old cast members, and doing fun segments. So this week, we are covering Season 3, Episode 8, called Made to Suffer. This came out December 2nd, 2012, directed by Billy Gerhardt, and written by Robert Kirkman. I think I've heard of that guy.
He's in the trades. I think he works.
He works. So basically, people, the shorthand of this episode is this is the one where Michonne fucks up Governor and his daughter, who's dead. And also there's a lot of amazing Merle stuff and the Governor's weird Woodbury sort of democracy. It's not really that. It's a dictatorship, right?
Weird is the word. I can't wait to get into how all of that shakes out.
I forgot how just odious and horrific and unfortunately familiar David Morrissey is as the governor. Oof, oof.
100%, but he really knocks it out of the park. There's a lot of strange in this episode. We're going to get into it right now, starting with our first segment, winners and losers. Woody, I won't make you say the jingle because until someone makes us a jingle, we are protesting.
Oh shit, guys! I had a whole my wife had symbols and stuff, but I'll just I'll cancel all of that. It's fine. Yeah, no, it's fine. It was better in a visual medium, anyways. It's fine. It wasn't right for a podcast. No, it's fine. No, it's good. No, sorry, babe. No, it's good. Yeah, I'm good.
You can't see me right now, but I'm pouting.
Joke's on you. I can see you right now. All right, so I'm going to start us off with the winners. For me this week, my winner is Tyreese and Sasha. This is their very first episode. They're little babies. They are in a survival group, which does not seem that it's going so well. So luckily, they get picked up by our crew and taken into, I guess you could call it a better situation, right? They find their way to the prison and then get, put in the group. But I think they're big winners because they got to get out of the woods, and we got a lot of good story from them. They're really good character additions at the time, and they became very valuable throughout.
It was great to see them. They're just kicking wholesale ass right out the gate. I guess they're teamed up with this other little family who is not making it. How those people made it that far, it just escapes me. Know. I guess I assume it's Tyreese and Sasha basically pulling the load the entirety of keeping those people alive until
Yeah, I was in the same. I was Tyreese and Sasha are doing all the work. That is the only reason you guys made it this far. You are lazy and too emotionally connected to each other.
I'm going to get into their fun casting stories later on when we do Apocatips, but now I'm going to go on to my loser, which is Rick's brain. I am the social media manager for The Walking Dead, meaning I should be an encyclopedia for all this information. I got to admit, I completely forgot that Rick hallucinated Shane in this episode. Yeah. They brought John Bernthal back looking a lot different, now has hair. I love that, he, aged naturally, in his hallucination. He didn't have the bald head and look crazy.
He looked like Wolverine.
He looked like 2012 John Bernthal. Yeah, he looked amazing. I would love to see him as Wolverine. But yeah, that moment completely caught me off guard that they brought him back. And it was also sort of a little foreshadowing of things to come because, later on, we see, Rick hallucinate a bunch of things, including Lori in a white dress. And, in his last episode, we see him, see Sasha and Herschel and a whole bodies of people. So, and Shane again, this guy's obsessed with Shane.
Oh, yeah. He loves Shane so much. He cannot quit him.
The passion was palpable in Rick's last episode. That was my favorite scene in that last episode was the two of them in the squad car.
100%. Woody, who are your winners and losers for 308?
The big winner is newcomer to the cast in this season, Michonne.
Oh, yes. I think
like,
she's going places.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more from this rising talent. No, it's also interesting to watch that like Michonne goes from like zero to like unmitigated badass from the get. Like even like from the moment they meet her, she's a badass. They bring her into like Woodbury and she just stealth 100s her way like into the governor's apartment. No prob.
Manages to kill his daughter. Like, I mean, it's so impressive.
She's sitting in that apartment for so long that like finally she hears like a thumping in like the ambiance, being like, well, I guess I'll go check that out. And then like the reason that she wins here, because honestly, like to me, it was neck and neck with Michonne and Carl, because Carl really like carries the B story. Also is like a mini John Wick, like one-shotting the entirety of the boiler room and every walker in that prison. So like imagine like, sorry, I'm getting off topic a little bit, but like imagine Tyreese and Sasha thinking they're gonna die in that boiler room, and this kid in like a state trooper hat and a silencer that looks like it was an aluminum bat sawed off, like just starts headshotting zombies left and right, being like, come with me if you want to live. Like, what the fuck is happening here?
And the Science Dog shirt, which has to smell bad because he has been rocking that since episode 2, season 1.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I love that it still fits. It's like also Tyreese and Sasha are effectively the audience in this situation because their life just keeps getting weirder. Like I related to them hardcore when they turned around and here's this kid with a gun that looks like he got it out of a circus box or something, and then he shuts him up in jail. Like I feel like I've watched episodes of television that made me feel that way.
Like, I love how the lady was dying and Carl like immediately puts the gun to her dome and is like, so I'm killing her, right? And everyone's like, whoa, what are you doing?
No, I did my mom a few weeks ago.
He's like, she's dead. Like, Carl is hard as a motherfucker. He goes full season 10 Earl. Like, it is great to see.
Carl can't wait to kill that mom. Like when like they get to like the thing there, and then like he just like wants to like lead the group so bad and be his dad, and like is just wants to be like he's putting forward. And like it's interesting to watch Judith go through the same thing right now in season 10 that projected like I can control this, I can do all these things. And then like my favorite bit for Carl, and he almost won on this one, was when Herschel puts his crutch out to be like, don't you go forward, young man. And it was just the perfect Herschel moment.
Oh, so good. Who's your loser this week, Woody?
My loser is Andrea. But real quick, the reason Michonne was my winner was just for the moment of when the governor has that whole like not my daughter, not my little girl thing. The whirlwind of emotions and reactions that go through her to be like, is this dude on the fucking level? Oh my God, he's serious. Like, okay, the best way to torture this dude is to kill this girl right in front of him. Like, let's fucking go. Like, just that one little interaction put her over the top. But my loser for this week is Andrea, for exactly the reason that when she's in the aftermath of all of this stuff, like, she thinks that she has like really like picked the winner here. Everything is cool. Like Andrea is feeling great about herself, and then basically goes through like the break into act 3 of the rom-com when she realizes that like, wait a minute, this dude's not a 3-star Michelin chef. Like, he's an Uber driver, but he loves me. Like, but she's realizing this dude's a like homicidal dictator who is trying to hunt down her old friends.
She's also a stand-in for his ex-wife, which she realizes in the mirror and doing her own
hair.
So I was like, ooh, girl, red flag.
So, Alexander, who are your winners and losers this week?
My winner this week is feminism in general.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, just all of feminism?
Just mostly. Just women kind of really sort of... women just really won this episode because Rick is wandering around fully hallucinating when Michonne is just like, give me 10, hold my beer. I have to go kill this dude's kid flawlessly, and then also take out his eye. She's back, 15 minutes later if you time it. Obviously time elapses differently, but and then she and Lori, instead of fighting each other, instead of immediately trying to kill each other, as you absolutely know Daryl and the governor would, or Rick and the governor would.
Oh, yeah.
They're both like, let's talk this out. Okay. All right. This is your situation. This is my situation. How do we work this out for both of us? And then Carol just kind of rolling her eyes at this, like, probably the umpteenth unwanted advance she's gotten from a skeevy dude. and it's just like, hi, I'm not a lesbian. No, we are not fucking. Stay over there away from the underage girl. Bye.
Shout out our we should have mentioned that in the intro, but Lew Temple is our guest this week. He plays Axel, and that little moment where he's like, well, you have short hair, so you're a lesbian, right? And she's like, that's not how that works. That's not how anything works. People have short hair. Alexandra, who's your loser?
Science.
Wow. So we got feminism as a winner and science as a loser. These are very broad topics.
Double abstracts. I love it. Let's roll.
Look, the governor hits some really deep gongs on me, and I need to galaxy brain my feelings about him.
Let's have it.
The disrespect the governor shows for science in this episode, it really galled me. I mean, I don't like this guy for many other reasons, but he also thinks he's smarter than its Apocatips. Not a fan. Science took a beating, and it made me think that he would definitely be one of those people who'd be like, there isn't a COVID virus. You can't take away my rights. I'm gonna go to the store
without
I
a mask.
haven't had a manicure in days.
Yeah. Oh no, the governor would absolutely be one, like, has never worn a mask in his life type deal. Like he's just got a feeling that he's fine, and like he's just gonna roll with that. Yeah, 100%.
All right, so now we're moving on to another segment called Dunked On.
Ooh, Dunked On.
Alexandra, who is your dunked on?
My dunked on this week was Carl on Herschel. Carl, who saw that crutch.
Aww.
Not at all intimidated by Herschel's crutch. Herschel kind of looking at him, being like, dude, this is all I got. I don't have any more kids to boss around. I have a crutch. I'm an old person. My time is limited. And Carl's like, I know. I got to go take care of this, though.
It was such a microcosm for season 2 in Just a Gesture, being like, come on, dude. You aren't stopping this train. This is going through you.
Woody, who is your dunked on?
Oh, man. A lot of people got dunked on, but I would say the one that made me go like, ooh, was Merle at the end, getting just bamboozled by the governor.
Yes.
Who, like, there's so much that I love about that scene. First of all, that it takes place in, I think that's the Screamer Pits. Is that?
Yeah.
Which, like, fantastic. Like, the Woodbury and the governor wear their, like, evilness, like, out loud. And they just, like, the thing that I love about the big bads in Walking Dead is that, like, they love being that person.
They lean into it hard.
Fun fact, this is the first episode that Daryl and Merle have together in reality, because prior, the only time they had ever seen each other was in that hallucination from season 2. Because when Merle was like stuck on that roof, Daryl wasn't a part of that. He was back at the camp.
That's wild. I love that.
I know. Yeah.
Also, just real quick, Merle's blade arm versus Aaron's spike mace or
blade arm.
Spike hand. Who do you got?
Blade arm.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, mace hand probably is more durable.
Merle and Aaron would definitely not have gotten along, and this is why.
Johnny, who's your dunked on?
Okay, so my dunked on is an obvious one. It is the governor's daughter. She got finally. And this was, this is probably the big moment that everyone remembers from this episode, even though this episode has like a million moments that you could spread out through a season. Ooh. But so this is when Andrea and everyone else finds out that the governor is not as normal as he seems, and he is secretly keeping his dead daughter as a pet, as people do. There was that reveal earlier this season where we like zoom out on the governor and we see all the heads in the aquarium. And like low key, I was like, if that was like an item in Animal Crossing, I would buy it immediately. I don't care how many bells it is. Like I would put that in my house so hard. But aside from that, so Michonne sees this and is like, oh, this is my bargaining chip thing. And immediately, kills her just right through the face, which was great.
That shot too. Like, is that...
Oh, I know.
Can we, like...
Still kind of holds up, too.
Well, I know that's sort of where I see Robert Kirkman, like Robert in this episode, is that I feel like is something that I could also just flip open one of the comics and see that as a full page.
Yeah. And, I will say it was very polite and nice of the governor's daughter to, like, when Michonne was discovering her, to, like, save her walker noises for when she took the bag off her head.
Yes,
I thought that was great.
I loved that, like, when the governor opened it up, she bursts out of there like a dog on a chain type deal, and that shit was terrifying every time.
Yeah.
I've seen it a couple times now, but like I forgot about it, and then as soon as she runs out, like great horror movie stuff doesn't make sense with like the zombie stuff. Who gives a shit? Like it's just really well timed.
With that, we are going to move on to Apocatips. Cue the upbeat music that I'll put in later. My Apocatip this week. In the apocalypse, if you're trying to avoid creepy men, make sure to cut your hair short because they'll wrongly assume you're a lesbian.
I mean, they'll still creep on you.
I wish I could stand up and say this isn't true, but there are enough idiot men out there who believe this. So, yep, I gotta back this one up.
100%. Alexandra, what's your Apocatip?
My Apocatip is just remember, child walkers are the same as regular walkers. So if you see a walker and one is a little girl and one is an adult, they will both bite you and they will both infect you. And they are both basically pieces of meat that are not any shadow of their former self. So if it is your child that becomes a walker, you just gotta accept that. You gotta accept it.
You gotta punt that little brat. You gotta just curb stomp it.
You gotta put it to rest in a very kind way, like Michonne does.
Like Baxter and Anchorman.
Like Chris Hemsworth in Extraction. Have you guys seen that movie yet?
No, I'm excited.
I did see that movie. That movie, it's something. I mean, I enjoyed it. Woody, what is your Apocatip?
When in doubt, just brand your enemies terrorists. Everybody will get it. That's the gist. I loved, like, the governor, he triples down on calling them terrorists. And just, like, takes Daryl out for that whole bit. But I was just like, yeah, we're in America. This is what we're doing. This tracks.
Not difficult to see how the people of Woodbury were convinced to be like, okay, yeah, I agree. Like,
yeah, and those are the people who are not wearing masks at grocery stores. Side note, I think the people who aren't wearing masks or taking this pandemic seriously, they're the ones that would hide their bite, wouldn't they?
100%. Yes.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Before we can get on to our guest, we are going to do some stray arrows. These are some things that happened in the episode that we didn't have time to fit into a segment, but we want to talk about anyway. And we just want to waste your time in general. I mean, where the fuck do you have to go?
I wouldn't say waste your time. These are gold nuggets that have been pulled from the heads of experts for your free entertainment. So, I know that we salute the first responders, but we also know who the real heroes are here.
Yes. I will start us off. My stray arrow is that if you have not read the comics, then you would not know how much more brutal Michonne's beating of the governor was in the source material than this. Obviously, Michonne, takes that glass and shoves it in his eye and, really inconveniences him, kills his daughter. This guy is able to also ignore the pain of a glass shard in his eyeball and just hold his daughter for like a very normal sort of, sad moment. Like I would be dying in pain. But just in case you were wondering, how does that go down in the comics? First of all, the context was way worse. Michonne was straight up sexually assaulted and abused by him. So in the comics, in issue 33 specifically, Michonne also bites the governor's neck, nails his dick to a board, drills a hole in his shoulder, pulls his fingernails out with pliers, cuts off his hand, shoves a spoon in his ass, takes it out of his ass, and then scoops his eyeball out with it. That is her revenge. Like she even says, "I could kill you right now, but that would be too easy."
Yeah, that's maybe too much. One of those is definitely infected.
Also, two quick stray arrows. I said earlier I was going to talk about Tyreese and Sasha's casting, and I am. So Tyreese, played by Chad L. Coleman. Robert Kirkman first saw him in The Wire, and as Cuddy, and said, "This is Tyreese." And AMC was like, I don't know if he's Tyreese. Why don't we read for a bunch of people? And he's like, no, this is literally Tyreese. And AMC's like, I'm not so sure, but I mean, we'll bring him in if you want. And they do, and he's perfect. And AMC eventually relents and is like, okay, fine, this guy's Tyreese. So thank God, Robert. Chad L. Coleman said in a later interview that he really went to bat for him, and he really appreciates that. So good on Robert, because I mean, he definitely nailed that.
He was great.
Yeah, I like also his relationship with Sasha, just period, is so well wrought.
100%. Sasha, played by Sonequa Martin Green, who you said now is on Star Trek Discovery, plays Tyrese's brother. She actually originally auditioned for Michonne, and I think a few other characters, and Glenn Mazzaro, who had a huge hand in The Walking Dead, writing, producing, etc. he really wanted to have her on as someone. So he literally decided, fuck it, I'll just Daryl it and create a character. And so he created Sasha because she's not in the comics. And so
I'd totally forgotten that they were in this episode, period. And it was just like all of a sudden Sonequa showed up and I was like, oh hi, oh yay. Like it was such a weird, nice little surprise.
It's all connected. All right, Woody, what are some stray arrows you got from the episode?
My one other stray arrow is it's more of a like, does this work or whatever? Somebody makes a blind leading the blind reference at the start of the episode, and I thought that was interesting since this is the episode where the governor gets blinded, and the B story entirely follows Carl, who is going to be blind in one eye like later on.
Ooh, wow, I love that. I'm just going to go ahead and say yes, that's canon.
So I'm going to say good on you. Whoever wrote this script, I mean, keep an eye on this guy or girl. I mean, I don't know who they are, but it's a raw talent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we should actually float that up and see if we can't find him.
Alexandra, what kind of stray arrows do you got?
I don't know why I just have COVID on the brain, but just watching how
you don't know why?
Yeah, it's weird. What is this thing? But it's just kind of it's just really, really triggering watching the people in the governor's care just kind of blindly be like, okay, yeah, this is the deal, this is what's going on, and then the governor fully not having an understanding of science at all or what's happening to this in this like whole situation medically. It was just like it made me it heightened how well this episode resonated with me, because it's like we can kind of we're not it's like we're not facing a zombie apocalypse, it's a pandemic and it's scary, but it's obviously not this, but just seeing how like feeling like you have no knowledge of this, like nobody knows what's going on kind of thing, and seeing that evolved like 10 extra steps was just kind of chilling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and shout out to the background extras when they get to the end there with the like, what are we gonna do? Like the people who are chanting "kill him" are really going for it. For some reason I just noticed it because it was just there's one lady who is just really in that moment and just sells it, and I'm just looking at everybody afterwards, and be like, this is great.
All right, that was Stray Arrows. Now moving on to our guest. All right, so now we're gonna go on to our guest. His name is Lew Temple. He played Axel in The Walking Dead, a very memorable character. And, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that he was nothing like his character. And we are going to hear his story right now. So let's cut to the interview. Our guest this week is an acting legend who brilliantly played Axel on The Walking Dead. He's also been in dozens of other amazing shows and movies you've seen. We're talking Walker, Texas Ranger, Unstoppable, Waitress, Rango. It's so much. Lew Temple, it is such an honor and pleasure to have you on the podcast. How are you doing today?
Fantastic, Johnny, and thanks so much for having me on Talk Dead to Me, because I've never been here before, and I love the handle, which is it's perfect, and of course it's always great to be a part of the family, the Walking Dead family.
Absolutely.
Any way we can connect and reach out, we always tend to like to do that. And you've had so many great guests, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
I just feel like part of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the roster. How have you been holding up in quarantine? I was expecting a much bushier mustache.
I know. Interestingly, and I think I can tell with you as well, the initial edict was don't touch your face. Yes. Wash your hands and don't touch your face. I mean, this was like 7 weeks ago. And I found that when I had the big mustache and a beard and everything, that I kept raking it and I kept touching my face essentially. So I shaved everything off, and under best healthy, safety, hygiene practices. And so I'm slowly but surely growing it back. The facial hair for Axel was epic and memorable for sure. There was a point in time, I think, that it was hard to overcome. I would go into audition for other things after I was off the show. Spoiler alert. For season 3.
He does not make it.
and they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, you're the mustache. Yeah, that's right. That's great. That's great." So there was a point in time. It was like a year later. I was like, "I'm done with the mustache. It actually has more followers than I do." So
Oh my gosh.
it required a lot of attention, a lot of grooming. It was and is great, and I appreciate it. And I'll grow it back. I like to change it up a little bit, transition it.
So in my research for you, before we get into The Walking Dead, I was reading about your minor league baseball career, and
Yeah.
I was so thrilled to hear about that for the minor league teams for it was the Astros, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And
I was
the Mariners.
Yeah, I was originally selected by the Seattle Mariners after my college baseball career. I went to play college baseball on a scholarship at Rollins College in Florida, and then selected by the Astros and selected by the Mariners, traded to the Astros.
Wow.
With the Mariners, very short time. And it was an incredible experience. It's a boy's dream, of course, and baseball, my first and still my first passion, to be honest. You know what I love, Johnny, about a passion, anyone's passion, not just mine, but I hope everyone has a passion, is that you can keep it with you in its form and its shape forever. So, for instance, I still have the same dream at my age that I had as a 12-year-old boy, that I walk out into a major league stadium. It's Yankee Stadium. I'm walking through the tunnel, and I'm going out to make my major league debut at Yankee Stadium. And I still have that every couple months. And it's the same dream that I had when I was 10 or 12. And I think that's just crazy and great. But I do love baseball, and I had a lovely career with with the talent that I had. I'm very proud of that. And then I went on to work in baseball after I got done playing as a coach and a scout, and then was learning administration to own or to operate a team as a general manager. About the time I saw a young lady, and I walked into a building, followed her into a building to chat her up about dinner arrangements, possibly. Tried to get a date, and it was an acting class, and I saw these folks down on this stage doing this amazing work of theater, and I said, well, I could do that. Those are my people, and of course I couldn't, so I went back to college and tried to learn in the midst of an incredibly great career that I walked kind of away from, to be honest, to try to pursue another great career. So I've been very fortunate in both those realms.
So, all right. So let's move on to Walking Dead. I read that you actually auditioned for two other pretty important characters before they eventually landed on Axel. So tell us just a little bit about that.
Well, the first character that I went in for was the pilot episode, and it was Merle, right?
Wow.
And which was great. And it was written so well, and it was it was the monologue up on the roof, and it was really good stuff. And thankfully they hired Michael Rooker, obviously.
I don't know, man. I mean, Michael Rooker is great, but I think you would have been a great Merle.
He's great. And he's Merle. But a few weeks later, they invited me back, the casting, and asked me to read for Merle's brother, who didn't have a name, nor did he have actually any dialogue. So they just said, look, can you read this different, the same dialogue that I'd been in to read for Merle, and just read it different as if it's his little brother, which was very strange. And they didn't even know who this character was or who it was going to be. So thankfully, they hired Norman Reedus to play Daryl. And I think it was so perfect because Norman is a very minimal type of actor. He's very economic in his work. And so when there's nothing there, he doesn't push too hard. I learned a lot on set from him. He and I have been knowing for many, many years before Walking Dead here in Los Angeles. But the way he kind of, we used to call him Johnny Appleseed on set because he would plant seeds for the writers to pick up on his storyline. So
Wow.
he didn't have a crossbow, or none of that stuff was written. He didn't shoot squirrels, or but he would do things like that in the scene. He didn't have a motorcycle, but one day there's a motorcycle in the set, and he's over, futzing with it, and the writers all pick up on those things. He taught me you can inform the writers of your character's motives, and that's a big part of him building. So it made sense when there wasn't really anything for him to do as Daryl in the audition, that he didn't do too much. And I think most of us were doing too much with what little there wasn't. And so, but he's perfect. And look, he's the last man standing, per se,
I know. I was surprised, when I heard that Andrew was leaving, and then I was leaving, and then Lauren left for a while, is now back. But I was like kind of worried for the show. I mean, I came on around season 5, started working here, and I was like, oh man, like, are we just going to wear our welcome? But Norman and Melissa and Jeffrey have all like kind of carried the torch, and it's still like a really quality show.
And the show's grown. I think that there's a lot to be said for the showrunner, Angela and Scott Gimple. I think recognizing and being able to adapt as we're seeing the audience change. And, the show is skewed younger. The show is skewed for a younger audience. No offense to anybody, but
that's okay.
There's far more 12-year-olds watching, 12 to 14-year-olds watching than when I was on the show, where there was no interest. We had one kid, and he was just getting going in Chandler. Yeah. So, when you don't have someone that's your size or your sensibility to watch, it's pretty boring to watch a bunch of adults, even if they're, being chased by walkers. But now there's young faces on the show, and I think it's very wise that the showrunners and the writers and the producers recognize phenomena like Stranger Things. Interesting, for sure.
Yeah. So after the Merle and Daryl auditions, how did so you auditioned again, obviously, for Axel, or
I did.
Did they call you? How did that work?
They did. They said, hey, at some point I'm like, okay, what can I do for you now? And they're like, we think we got this role that you're really good for, you're really right for. And they weren't able to actually send me the material. One, it wasn't written, and two, they were starting to become very aware that they had to keep their material close, because, if it got out in the public, a lot of spoilers. They were starting to sense that this was going to happen right around season 3. So they sent me dummy sides to put on tape, and it was this really inane conversation with T-Dog, oddly enough. Yeah. And I think this is where I got the idea about the mustache, because my character Axel kept conversing with T-Dog about his mustache. Well, how do you get your mustache to do that? I just can't get mine to do anything cool like yours. I remember. And so in my mind, Axel always had a stash. Well, he had a big beard in comics. So they liked my read, and then they asked to make a couple of adjustments because they weren't sure which way they wanted to go. And it was very difficult. They weren't sure if they wanted, not broad comedy, because the show doesn't lend itself to broad comedy, but to some levity at least. Mm-hmm. Or if they wanted it to be very dark and foreboding. And so I would
get a serial killer?
Yes, thank you. I would get mixed signals. And while I was on The Walking Dead, I was still filming The Lone Ranger for Disney, and I had a big mustache playing this Texas Ranger. And I'm like, look, I don't know if I can take this job because I know the schedule you've worked out with Disney. That's cool. But I have this mustache that I actually can't shave. And I know how you get about that. So if you're going to ask me to shave this stash on set, and we're gonna, I'm gonna have to say no, and it's gonna be this big, throwdown. Then I don't want to even come. And they're like, no, please. And I was skeptical, but they totally loved the stash more than Lone Ranger loved the stash. I remember one of the things on Lone Ranger, Barry Pepper had this mustache that I had grown mine. It takes me a long time to grow that. And I was very prideful of that. But Barry, they just stuck his on, and he got to curl his big handlebar. And so they kept twisting mine down because they didn't want it to challenge Barry Peppers, I suppose. But on The Walking Dead, it was all in, so I was thrilled. And they found some mustache wax that was great. And so it was ideal. Going back to the tone, I showed up with the idea that it was going to be serial killer and foreboding. And then the day of, got a note to switch that. No, we've got to lighten things up a little bit. We've been pretty dark.
In The Walking Dead.
Yes. Sorry. I'm on a lot of other rabbit trails here. So they offered that, can you just bring, not sitcom, but can you just bring a little levity to Axel, or colloquial charm that might engage? And so I'm like, yeah, sure. And then each episode, the writers would come to me and say, look, we got this other thing going down the road. This other thing's going to happen where you're not who you have been revealing. And I'm like, okay, but don't give too much of that away at all. And I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, I'm not going to give any of that away because you've told me a lot of things, and so far what I'm doing is the only thing that is true. So so there were people, your fan base, your audience would say, yeah, Axel was super cool, lovable, but you're going to have a few people that will call in and go, yeah, but I didn't trust. And so there was that. I did have that because there were some episodes that are written where I do take Beth out into the woods and slaughter her.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. Yes. So
holy shit.
Yeah. And so we didn't get to any of those. And so there was, that was why I kept buttoned up. He was going to come undone and be totally Henry Rollins tattooed. The whole thing about being a drug addict was all a big facade. The thing about the squirt gun and pistol is all bullshit. Carol beats the shit out of her. I mean, just these really dark things that the writers were talking about. Well, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, we've painted ourselves in the corner. The governor is showing up, and he's got to draw blood or he'll be impotent, right? He's got to draw first blood, and it's looking like you're gonna get the short straw. I'm like, what? And it wasn't a for sure by any means.
Right.
There were several other regulars that were up for
really
taking the hit, and so it was leaning towards me. And so they were trying to make me feel better by going, well, it could be so and so, and what you do, Johnny. I'm sorry, I'm talking so much.
No, don't be, man. This is a podcast. That's the whole point.
It's coffee. So the first thing you do, like Glenn Mazzaro, the showrunner at the time, who didn't last much longer than I did, he called me and he said, hey, man, Axel's so cool and everyone's digging him and loving him. And you follow me is just spot on with the comic and all these very kind, effusive compliments. And then he's like, sadly, we're going to have to take him out. He's getting a bullet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, what? This was 3 weeks in advance. And so the first thing you do is, in that situation, you do this, what I call a denial dance. You're like, no, here's why you shouldn't do this.
Right.
And you plead your case, and you offer solutions like, that guy Alan, that new guy, Daniel Mainick, that guy Alan, he's a real dickhead. He's an asshole, with his son and all that. Let's dish him. Let's toss him off. He doesn't, he's. And they're like, no. Axel it'll be So then you recognize, look, I'm not talking anyone out of this. It's going to happen, and okay, I'm going to put my big boy pants on. I'm going to do the best job I can, and I'm going to honor my character. And that's really how I approached it. They were so kind. Andrew Lincoln actually went to the show and said, look, I think we shouldn't get rid of Axel.
Wow.
I think we shouldn't get rid of Lew Temple. I think all of this is working and can be very serviceable, and he's a good teammate, and it would hurt our team to do that. This isn't the time to do that. Can we delay that? And that was really kind. So it actually, continued great story is that because the decision wasn't made for it was in conversation for so long. Special effects makeup at that time, still to this day, headed up by Greg Nicotero, who's the top director and executive producer on the show. But Greg was special effects. He and I had worked on many things together, but like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and a couple of Rob Zombie films. But he didn't get a chance to do a life cast of me. And the life cast is when you do a bust of your head so that the bullet hit and they can, build a prosthetic or build a dummy for you.
Right.
It's so interesting. He didn't get the word who it was going to be because it's a very laborsome process. You've got to do a latex of the whole body and the frame, and particularly your face. You make a cast, a bust, and he and I, believe it or not, we don't necessarily bear a resemblance, or we do. I can't be sure which, but we certainly have similar structure of face. So he took himself, he had a bust of his head, and used it and built Axel, and it was perfect. My wife couldn't even tell the difference of
Oh my God.
that. And so the woman, or pardon me, the dummy that Melissa is with is actually a bust made of Greg Nicotero, special effects makeup guru, who had directed by then, and now he runs the show. But I always tip that off. And I was on vacation in Hawaii when that was a human sandbag for Carol.
Yeah, that was insane. Oh my gosh. And I read that they offered for you to come back as a walker.
So the main thing was I wanted the death to be shocking. And I remember, and they'd asked me to come into the writer's room here in Los Angeles, say, would you like to help write this episode? And I'm like, no, these guys are great. I couldn't help. But what I can offer or ask in request is that, can we make it shocking? Because I remember the Zapruder tape of the Kennedy assassination and the headshot and the finality of what that was, and the jolt of just disbelief of that it happens. There's something about someone getting shot in the head that it's different. It just takes your breath away regardless. And I felt like that was perfect for what we were trying to do. And I didn't think that being shot or killed any other way and becoming this other thing. And the other thing on the day, on the day, this wasn't planned, but I wanted to make it all about Melissa or Carol.
Yeah.
And that she had to deal with this person who she was getting to know. She was opening up to. She smiled. She was mentoring. She was, she was skeptical of him in the beginning, obviously. And he had judged her, and she, dismissed it. So all these things were great. And then here he is dead in her arms. Blood on her hands in this mayhem, this chaos. What is she to do? And for her, none of that was scripted, that she would use that body to shield herself. But I made sure when I was shot, and she didn't know, I just fell on her. I literally sack of potatoed her, that she had to, she had to hold up who she knew was, she had to protect herself and hold up this actor. I know you're alive, so you've got all your weight on me, and we're going to the ground. I've got to somehow protect you and me. And so all these things I just threw on her that she reacted to so great. And that's a credit to Melissa, obviously. We've seen her do it so often now.
I really appreciate that moment because in the episode that we rewatched this week, episode 8, you had that sort of iconic line where it's like, well, you have short hair, so you're a lesbian, right? And she's like,
Yeah.
no. So
Which again
at first
is
you're
so-
kind of like, oh, Axel's kind of maybe, not really with the times or anything, or maybe he's a little creepy. But then you kind of redeem yourself, and and it's nice that even though you did get killed off, you had a nice moment with her at the end where you're like, oh, things are starting to turn around.
Yeah. What was really the things that I talked about. So now you can appreciate this long, verbose conversation I've had about who Axel was. In the back of my mind, the benefit of really being on the show and having a storyline and being a Negan type character out in the woods, and Rick's trying to find me because I've got one of their people, and I'm gonna kill her, and it's gonna, my mind, this religious zealot that's gonna change the apocalypse by mercy slaughter. That's all great, but the reality was I was building a very likable, charming character that I wanted to be a service to the group, a service to Herschel, an old guy that we could talk and know, and that we could be a service to hope. I was all about hope, and we're going to get through this and the world will change back, not unlike what we're experiencing right now for everybody. People ask me about that, and I say, the thing we talked most about on The Walking Dead was hope for the future. And as castmates, not as characters, but as castmates. So as characters, that was my choice. But the reality is I just wanted Axel to be very likable, of which he was. The scene that you're referring to, this scene was so delicious, and it was scheduled to be shot the next day with a lot of time. I mean, I'm talking about the scene with Melissa. You must be a lesbian because you got the short hair.
Yeah.
The director, we had a good day, and we had some free time, which we never had on Walking Dead. When I say free time, I mean like a half hour. And he goes, hey, let's shoot scene da-da-da. And Melissa and I looked at each other and go, oh, no, come on. That's a good scene. Give us the credit, the honor of, having a good day with this scene. He goes, nah, you guys are great. You'll do it. And at first I was reticent, but then I recognized probably that whole week I was building that scene in my head, and then I got thrown into it. So I was prepared for it, even if I didn't think because typically an actor will go home that night and work on his scene for the next day in the night before bed. It didn't have that time necessarily, but also getting back to the Norman Reedus thing, didn't make too much out of it, just made it perfect for what it was on the page, is exactly what it was. And then the scene really isn't about, you got the short hair, even though that is Axel's levity and that's the fun, and we love that line, but it's Melissa's reaction. Oh, mama, interesting. No, it isn't. That is what makes it. And we removed all that director, and maybe he was planning this all along. He removed all actor preciousness from that. We didn't have time to be precious. We didn't have preparation to be precious. So we just did it, and we did it right. And and that's why it turned out so good. So
it was great. I think it's iconic, and I wish we had more of it.
Yeah, it was great. The other thing you referenced about Axel not being up to date, I think yes, but one thing I always tried to do, it occurred to me when watching the show before I was on the show that there was a lot of subtext, like things, most of the players, and it's because the writing is so good, Johnny, is that we're going to say things without saying them. So even though people would say things, particularly that Rick and Shane stuff, and
oh my gosh,
and Lori, and so I recognize, well, maybe if I'm going to bring a little levity to serve that a little bit, I'm going to wear my heart on my sleeve and just say what everyone's thinking. Okay, and here's this lady that's got short hair in the middle of Georgia, you know,
Yep,
and
that's true.
and everybody, all the, the audience was going, well, what, she's had a bad relationship, and, she's a broken winged, at that point, kind of a broken winged dove.
Yeah.
And I
It can
just
be a little
felt
butch.
like, I just felt like it was a perfect place. And the other thing was to do it without being Me Too, I guess. That's the phrase I'd use today.
Sure.
I don't think that phrase was operative then,
No.
but it would be what we would call PC back in those days. It was PC.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
And so, but doing it PC and doing it in a way that was likable. So Axel just looked, oh, he's so dumb. Look, he just called her a lesbian. He doesn't actually know what a lesbian is, does he?
Right.
And so, because short-haired women must be.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it worked. And I got a lot of support from the gay and lesbian community for how I was open about it, but in a very charming way, not in a divisive way.
Like Seinfeld, kind of like, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
It was, so it just it played perfect. And then, getting back to Carol, it was kind of the beginning. Can I talk to you for a minute? That's very assertive. Yeah. And it was kind of the beginning of the assertiveness that Carol starts to take on and starts leading, and then starts, surviving, leading, conquering. I mean, and then to what we have today. Mm-hmm. Because when we got her, when I got her in season 3 in the beginning, she was wounded, she was broken, and so we've watched her out of all the characters. Her and Rick's are my favorite arcs, and it was a very difficult season for Rick because he was going through his King Lear, as he likes to call it, the ghost of Laurie. It was,
and Shane.
And Shane shows up in this episode.
I forgot about that when I rewatched it the other day, and I was like, "Holy shit, John Bernthal!" I didn't.
He's got a beard. Yeah. Oscar goes to Woodbury with the group.
Mm-hmm.
We had both volunteered, and they chose Oscar. They still weren't in total trust of us, but Rick had liked Oscar because they had that thing with Andrew and the gun in the boiler room, and Oscar hands the gun over. So Rick was on board with Oscar, and I thought it was a sign of good faith that he would take one of us to help. But Vincent Ward told me right away, dude, I don't know if this is a good idea they're taking me. This is exactly the kind of place I could, I might not be coming back. I'm like, nah. And sure enough, because it's that scene with John Bernthal. So I made it also Oscar and Axel, that chemistry was really great. And I think there was a lot of levity there, sort of his dry response, and we just had this connection that was a nice tandem, a good team. And so my character Axel had to experience the pain of losing Oscar out there and needing to blame someone, and blaming Rick actually for taking him out. So we had filmed a scene, it may be 309 actually, and there's a scene that didn't make the cut where I get in Rick's grill and I physically attack him, and they have to pull us apart, and he's just numb because that's everywhere. He's out of his mind. He's almost ready just to concede and just, go ahead and beat me. Pardon me.
It's okay. You can curse.
I've made a mess of everything. But interestingly, Johnny, the night before we filmed that scene, my wife called me in the middle of the night from Los Angeles and said, "Oh my God, Tony Scott has died." And Tony Scott was a guy who directed me in Unstoppable,
yeah.
Deja Vu, and Domino. We were fairly close. Besides Denzel, I'm one of the guys that he used the most. And
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I was beside myself. I called people. It was confirmed. I called set. I said, I can't come to work today. They said, we think Tony would want you to come to work. And they were right. But I had all of this. I was angry. And I was hurt that Tony, because he had committed suicide. In San Pedro, he threw himself off the bridge. God rest his soul. And I loved that man. I loved him. And we all loved him. It was like working for Willy Wonka. So I brought that to set that day. I have this scene, and I think it just all came out on Andrew Lincoln. I mean, it was, and I'm crying, and I'm shaking him. I'm very physical. Andrew likes to be very physical in his work. I'm just giving it to him more than you should ever give anyone. And he's just receiving the energy of Lew, hurt Lew, sorrowful Lew, and not Axel, to be honest. And it was too much. Because right after this, he turns around and he sees Lori in the white dress. And it was just too much going on for him to have this guy just beat him up with, you did this and you killed him, and then have to deal with there's this. It's just the flow wasn't right. So we had to dial that back. And he talked to me a lot about that. He was apologetic. And I was like, dude, please, I'm just, I'm being selfish with my personal, emotions here being placed on you. And I apologize myself. I'm just not in a good space today. I'll be better tomorrow. So we did it. And so you'll see that. But I was obviously sad to see Oscar leave the show. He was fun. We had done really well. And thought we had, that we had formulated that chemistry and a lot of support from the cast for the two of us as that goes. And so it was a lot of fun to be on the show and to be able to work that way. My death, I remember that I wanted to not indicate it because it was really important for it to be exactly what it was, a gut punch.
It was shocking. It's still shocking today. You're like, whoa.
Yeah. And so I couldn't indicate that at all. So just even tapping her on the shoulder, I remember, that old chest, and the joke about my brother.
Yeah.
People ask me every day, what was the rest of that story before you got shot? The story was my brother had told me to get some bait and some beer and meet him down at the docks. We're going fishing. And I spend a bunch of money on beer and bait. Didn't have a lot of money. And I show up, and there he is with my ex-wife.
Oh.
Motherfucker. And so, and then before we even got to that bullet to the head from the governor, which, David Morrissey, they killed a lot of people, the governor. He got Axel, and he got Herschel, the two of us. So I feel like, that was just heart-ripping. But also Scott's passive, knowing look before, that it was going to be okay. We did a lot of work. It all shows up on screen, but the work that got us there is incredible. And that started with Andrew Lincoln every day. He is the Tom Brady of that squad. He is the GOAT.
I heard from another actress that Andy is pretty method. Like he kind of keeps that character on set even when they're not filming. Is that accurate?
To a point. It's always people first. So he is a gentleman, and he's polite, and he's a humanitarian. So whatever that entails is first, before Rick. And I'm talking about things like if there's somebody, not cast, but a crew member that's eating by themselves or doesn't, he won't have that. He'll have you come sit with us.
Did you get a farewell dinner or anything like that?
I did.
Some kind of send off?
The death dinner. Thank you. They talked dead to me. And it was great. And Stephen Yen was the leader on that.
Wow.
And so that was great. The best part of that dinner is that the check goes right by you.
That is nice.
These are
like, wait a minute, I just got fired. I do not need to take the check.
Yeah, these are very expensive dinners because there's a lot of people. You know, they're always sad because you don't want to see, you get so close. There's not been one of them that's been a happy party. You get close. And the other thing, you realize this person really does a lot on the show. How are we going to replace? It is like a team. It is a teammate. It's a good player that's leaving the show. And you start to wonder, geez, are we going to be as good without him? You know, and so that doesn't go away. That's the same today as it was.
Well, Lew, I've had such a pleasure talking to you, man. And,
thank you. Thanks for letting me go down the. I apologize for that. I'm sure you had more of a structure, but I really appreciate.
Oh, hey, man, it's fine. I love it, and we'll cut some of this together for the podcast. We'll save some for the clips. It'll be like a pig, you know. We just use this part for that, and we're just gonna have all Lew Temple. It's gonna be great.
A lot of bacon. That'll be fantastic.
A lot of bacon. Yeah. Tell the people where they can follow you on social media.
I'm at Lew Temple Actor on Twitter, Lew Temple Instagram. I have a little storytelling site called The Texican, which is a Patreon account that I'm building a little storytelling business.
Very cool.
And I'm trying to stay busy, man.
That's great, man. Well, I'm so glad to hear you're doing well and you're staying productive. And
thank you, Johnny. Thanks for letting me talk dead to you.
Thanks for talking dead to me, man. All right. Well, hope to talk to you in the future, and stay safe. And we'll see you later.
Anytime. Thank you, friend. All right.
Thanks, buddy.
And that was my interview with Lew Temple. You know, I had no idea that he was a minor league baseball player and then like assistant.
Oh yeah, Axel absolutely looks like a relief pitcher who's got a very weird like wind up and delivery, like a high kick type deal, and but
like from the 1920s where he's like swing bada bada.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like he plays on Conan O'Brien's old timey baseball team.
All right, thank you guys so much for listening. Next week we are moving on to season 3, episode 12, Clear. Which is such a juicy, amazing episode. This is the one where Morgan decides to come back and go fucking bananas. So, and we actually, our guest next week is the chalkboard that he used in that episode. So, very excited. That was a hard one to get. You couldn't just DM him. You really had to go through management, and it was a whole thing.
He's made a good living off of commercials.
I know. He was also he was turned into a whiteboard for The Happening.
Yeah. I mean, like what? Yeah, right. Unrecognizable. No, can inhabit really any flat surface role.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it during these hiatus times. And we look forward to talking to you guys next week. So until then, happy birthday, Nate.
Happy birthday, Nate.
Happy birthday, Nate. I forget, what is it? That movie, the Ouija board movie? Ouija, I think is what it was. It's a Blumhouse.
No, you're thinking it's Luigi's Haunted Mansion.
It's not funny, witty.